Hello guys, my name's Joseph Connor and welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's tutorial we're going to be creating this. Okay guys, so in today's tutorial we're going to be creating a cinematic logo reveal. So this is a pretty cool tutorial actually, and we'll be creating the whole thing in After Effects. Just a word of warning, you will need Element 3D to complete this tutorial. But you can just follow along if you want to just kind of see how this thing was built, but you will need Element 3D to create this. Without further ado, let's get on with the tutorial. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up After Effects. Depending on the speed of your machine, this might take a little bit time. Okay, once After Effects is open, we're going to make a new composition. We're going to keep it 1920 by 1080 and then just keep the frame rate at 25 FPS, frames per second, and then we'll rename the file to logo animation, because as Ben Marriott always says, we always name our layers. And then we click OK. And yeah, so now we've got a composition. What we're going to do is we're going to bring in the assets that should be linked in the description below. So if you go down there and just click on the link, download the assets, you'll be able to follow along. So then we'll go to Import, File, and these are the assets here. So we'll just import that. Nope, don't want to import that. And then we'll just drag our logo down here. So this is basically just a generic logo created specifically for this tutorial. It's nothing special. You can use your own logo if you want to and still follow along the same. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to go up to Layer, go to Auto Trace, and then just leave everything as it is in this box, but if yours comes in like this, it should have Apply to New Layer ticked off. Click that on. So click that on and then click OK. So all of those attributes will be placed on this new layer. So now what we can do is we can just delete the logo, and then we'll just pre-comp this. So we'll just rename this as logo, like so. And now what I want to do is make a new solid. So a new solid, make it black, and then I'll name this Element 3D. Click OK, and then you got your Element 3D layer here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put Element 3D under there. So the way that we do that is you go up to Layer, nope, you go up to Effect, and then Video Copilot, and then Element. Like so, and then you should get the little Element 3D kind of attachment that pops up. So now Element 3D is on this layer. So the next thing we need to do is we need to go down to Custom Layers and then Custom Text and Masks. So Path 1, we will just put the logo in there and close that up to keep it tidy, and then go to Scene Setup. Okay, so now we're now in Element 3D. We've kind of come out of After Effects. We're in Element 3D. If you've never used it before, there's a whole other tutorial on my YouTube channel. Go find that and you can figure out how to use it. So if you click on Extrude, now you have your fancy logo in Element 3D. So great. Let's rotate this 90 degrees and we'll create a floor like so. Like so. Just bring that out a bit like that. A little bit more. And yeah, it's looking pretty cool. We'll click back onto our extrusion object, which is our logo, and I'll just bring this up a slight bit like that. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to just put a generic flow in there so I can see my logo. So I'll just go to metals, and then the flow I usually like to use is metal black or black metal, wherever that is. There we go, metal black. Let's drop that in. So next thing we need to do is we need to add a bevel to the logo, and then usually the one I like to use is racing. So we'll just drop that in onto the logo like this, and you should have something that looks like this now. Pretty basic. There's nothing really too attractive about this at the moment. But this is kind of the building blocks of how we're going to create the final look. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into our little drop down menu here, and we're just going to adjust a few things and play around with some of the extrusions. So I'll make that a bit bigger, make that smaller actually, and then kind of have that poking out there a little bit, just because I want kind of the lights to kind of shine through on this little blue area. So sorry if you can hear my laptop, it's kind of going crazy. Decided to the fans to go like full max. So yeah, I think that's looking pretty good for now. So I'm going to apply a texture to the logo now. So usually if you go to materials and then go down to pro shaders, and then I like to use like a metal painted metal. Where would that be? You can use any texture here if you feel like it, but I'm just kind of going to go with what I usually go with. There it is. So just take your color and then drop it down onto your shape. As you can see, it's just kind of plonked in there, and then we'll just drop it in kind of there, and then we'll drop it in on the top. Actually, I think I already put it on the top, yeah. So now the only color that is kind of the same, well, the material is the glass tint. Now we can click OK on here. Okay, so once you're back into After Effects, what we're going to do is we're going to make a new camera. So we'll just make a new camera like this. Ta-da! And then let's just have a look at what we've got going on here. So that is looking pretty good so far. Very plain, but looking pretty sweet. So I just noticed something actually. Let me just change this. Composition is actually 10 minutes long. We need it 10 seconds long. So let's change this back to 10. I'm not sure why that changed. And we'll just update that. Yep, that's good. So now what we're going to do is, usually what I do at this stage is I kind of animate the camera just to kind of dial in how it might look before I start putting all the fancy stuff on. So we'll do that now. So I usually go to the end of the frame and I'll just kind of set my camera up to see where exactly I want it to finish. Zoom out a bit. So I kind of want it to end there. So if we hit P on the keyboard and then we just put a keyframe, and then I'll go back to the start of the timeline, and then we just kind of, so maybe I want it to rotate, and then let's zoom in a little bit like this. You can always change this later if you're not happy with it. So I just want to kind of put in maybe a rough, like quick animation to see how it will animate. So it kind of comes up like this, and then I want it to rotate around. So that looks pretty cool to me. Yeah. The rotation is a little bit too quick for me, so I'm going to add some easy ease. So if you highlight the keyframes and then right click, go to keyframe assistant and then just go down to easy ease. And then we'll just play that out and see what it looks like. So yeah, that's looking pretty cool. Great. Alright, I think we're done for that stage. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add the LED lights around the outside. So I've got a little animation of LEDs, so we'll just drag that over onto our comp, and there we go, we're done. No, I'm joking. So what we need to do is we need to get this into element. So we'll just right click on the actual layer, and then we'll pre-comp that, make that into an LED. Beautiful. Now we'll go to element, and then we'll go to scene setup. Nope, actually I'm telling the wrong thing. Go back out of that. We'll go down to custom layers, close that, and then we'll go down to custom texture maps. And the first layer, layer 1, we'll just click on LED and close that up, keep it all tidy, and now go back into scene setup. Alright, so what we're basically going to do is we're going to put our LEDs on this little blue line, so it's the glass tinted. And the way that we do that is you click on your glass tinted and you go down to this little picture icon and go to diffuse, and then we'll go down here, stick our LED in, and we'll change that to, let's say, 5. Click OK. And then we'll go to illumination and click on LED, and we'll change that to, let's say, 5 again. And now you can vaguely see you have the LED kind of coming through on the outside, which is starting to look actually pretty cool. So we'll just click on OK, and then we'll see what we've got. Turn the LED layer off, and you can see that the LEDs have kind of are on this outside now, which is starting to look pretty good now. So next thing we need to do is, actually I want to go back into my scene setup, and then I'm going to add a environment. Let's go down here. Which one looks pretty cool? So yeah, that looks nice. So I'll just turn the intensity down on the glass tint, maybe to, let's say, half, 50 something, just so you can see those LEDs a little bit better. Yeah, you do need to play around with it a little bit. And then I think I'll probably also change the bevel slightly so that it's kind of coming up a little bit more. So you can see it's a bit more prominent. Maybe something like that. That's starting to look cool. We click OK and we'll just check what that looks like. So the good thing about having your camera already animated is you can kind of see how it might look, the final thing. Right, so let's just save that. Yeah, it's starting to take form now. We just got to add a few little bits and pieces, and I think we'll be there. Alright, so what can I do now? I think I'll add a light. So if you go down to new light, and we'll add let's try and add a spotlight. I'm just going to add a little bit of a green, fall off, smooth. Yeah, that should be okay. No, actually I'll add a point light, and then none. Just add that. Position, let's take that down a little bit. Take it up. Oh yeah, that looks good. So I'm gonna have a little bit of a play around with this, with the lights. I mean, it's open for experimentation, but I think the tutorial will be way too long if I just kind of show you how to position the lights. You kind of have to play around yourself. So I'll be back in a minute when I've just kind of adjusted a few things, and then we can add the last final things to the scene, and then yeah, cool. So I've kind of played around with this for the last maybe 35 minutes, 30 minutes, and kind of just cleaned it up a little bit. Added kind of a little bit more contrast to the lights, and just kind of played around with the bevel as well, but nothing much really from the original. All the same textures and kind of same background. So now that I'm pretty happy with how it looks, I'm going to click on OK, which will take us back into our folder. Yeah, and I also added a spotlight, which hasn't really added too much to the scene. Rather than a point light, I just added a spotlight, and also I added some depth of field onto the camera as well. So if you go into the camera and you go down to depth of field, I just turned that on, and then I put the focal distance up to 26,000 pixels, 26,667 pixels. So you get this nice little blur like this, and when it zooms out you kind of have something cool like that. I also changed the orientation of the camera as well, but not much, just to kind of make it a little bit smoother. But other than that, I think it's starting to look pretty cool. So now I'm going to add a few extra effects, and I think this will be done. So the next thing I want to add is kind of, I want to make it a little bit darker, a bit more contrasty. So I'm going to duplicate the element 3D layer by hitting Ctrl D, which will duplicate the layer, and then I'm going to change the mode to, let's try overlay, see what that looks like. So that is looking pretty sweet. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. So it'll zoom out like so. The light keeps coming on and off like that because I'm on a laptop and it's like loading the scene, and I don't have much RAM on this laptop, so it keeps stuttering a little bit. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. And the next thing I kind of want to do, so we can wrap this up, is I want to add maybe some sparks and a lens flare. So if you look back into the asset folder, the one that you downloaded from the link in the description, there's a folder sparks and a folder lens flare. So I'm just going to drop that right on the top here. If my mouse actually decides to wake up. So I'll drop that in on the top, and I'll just change the scale of that to maybe something like this. Go to the beginning. And then I'm going to change the mode to, let's try multiply, see what that looks like. Let's see. Maybe we try soft light. Yeah, that looks much better. Soft light is better. And that just adds a little bit extra to the actual footage, so when it plays, add a little bit of a glare to it. That is looking pretty sweet. And now, just to make it look a little bit more interesting, let's add some sparks. So we'll just pull that down and we'll drop it above, and then we'll take that to the 5-second mark. See what that looks like. So I'm going to put on a multiply layer and see, screen layer, sorry. Let's put a screen layer, and that'll make the black disappear. So it's kind of a transparent layer. So as it comes up here like this, I want the sparks to slowly come in. That is looking pretty sweet. But it's kind of abrupt, so I'll just put this one above, and then I think I'll just have them fade in. So I'm going to put a transparency, opacity layer on that, and then just kind of bring it out there, and then we'll just bring it in slowly so that the sparks kind of fade in. Maybe we just move it down here a little bit, so as it comes out you kind of get the sparks coming in. And let's RAM preview that and see what it looks like. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that, guys. So yeah, that's the end of the tutorial. I hope you found it useful, and if you did, please leave me a comment. Tell me if there was anything that you learned, or if there's anything that you kind of struggling to understand. I think it's fairly straightforward, fairly self-explanatory. Obviously you do need Element to do this tutorial, but like I said at the beginning, this project file is available for download. If you want to download it, just click on the link and download the project file, and you can tear it apart. You also get the assets folder with the project file, and you can see how everything was put together. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching the video, and if you like it, please give it a like, and if you want to, please consider subscribing. Every little support helps, and it just means I can make more videos if people like what I do. So hope you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.